Local influencer couldn't pay her bill because guys always pick up her tab. It was a busy Friday night, and I was running around trying to keep up with my tables when I noticed a group of girls walk in. One of them, I'll call her Influencer Girl, or IG for short, was particularly noticeable. She was dressed to the nines, with her perfect makeup, high heels, and a phone in her hand, snapping selfies like her life depended on it. Everyone in town knows about her. She had managed to amass close to 50,000 followers and thought she was the hottest thing on earth. She even had her own little entourage, a group of equally dressed up friends. We always dreaded when they came in because they are so rude and usually don't tip very well. So lucky me, they were seated at one of my tables, and I could tell from the get-go that this was going to be a challenging group. The moment they sat down, IG started snapping more pictures and talking loudly about her followers. Her friends seemed to just be along for the ride, occasionally chiming in with their own selfie sessions. Everything was relatively normal, or as normal as it could be, until it came time to pay. By that point, IG's friends had all paid their share of the bill and left the table, seemingly oblivious to the fact that IG hadn't paid yet. So there she was, sitting alone at the table, just staring at her bill as if it were some alien artifact. It was getting late, and we were trying to seat more customers, so I eventually had to approach her and ask her to settle her bill. You could see the embarrassment on her face as I asked her to pay. She sheepishly admitted that she didn't have any money with her. Instead, she had just been sitting there, waiting for some guy to notice her and offer to pick up her tab. Apparently, this was a regular occurrence for her and she was willing to just sit there and wait for it to happen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, sure, she was attractive and all, but who expects random strangers to just pay for their meals? I told her that wasn't how it worked at our restaurant, and she needed to figure out a way to pay her bill. At this point, IG started getting defensive. She said, "Do you know who I am?" Then kept saying how she had over 50K followers on Instagram and that she was kind of a big deal. She even offered to give our restaurant a shout out in exchange for a free meal, as if that would suddenly make everything okay. I told her that wasn't acceptable and that I really needed to seat this table again. I told her she could go up front and figure out how to pay so that I could seat our next guests. But no, that wasn't going to work for her. No one will see me and know to pay my bill if I am up there. I don't understand. This always works. It will probably only take a few more minutes. By now, a small crowd had started to form around our table. People were whispering and taking pictures of the scene unfolding in front of them. IG was becoming more and more agitated, her face turning red with embarrassment and frustration. She tried to save face by claiming that she'd left her wallet at home and that she would come back to pay later, but I wasn't having any of it. I told her that we couldn't let her leave without paying and that she needed to go up front and then find a solution before she left. Desperate, she started scrolling through her phone, trying to find someone who would be willing to help her out of her predicament. She tried calling a few friends, but they either didn't answer or couldn't help her. With each failed call, the tension at the table grew, and the whispers from the surrounding crowd got louder. I kept asking her to move, but she just wouldn't budge. She kept looking around the room for a guy, any guy who would help her, but no one was volunteering this time. More calls, and then finally, after what felt like an eternity, one of her friends answered and agreed to come back to the restaurant to help her pay the bill. But by this point, word had spread throughout the restaurant about what was happening, and more people were stopping to gawk at IG's very public meltdown. As we waited for her friend to arrive, a few people decided to take matters into their own hands. Some customers started snapping photos of IG and posting them on social media, along with snarky captions about her expecting people to pay for her meals. The irony of an Instagram influencer being put on blast like that wasn't lost on me or the rest of the staff. As IG sat there, she started to realize that the situation was spiraling out of control. She became visibly upset, her perfectly applied makeup starting to smudge as tears rolled down her cheeks. She tried to hide her face, but it was too late. The photos were already being shared and making their way around the internet. When her friend finally arrived, the poor girl looked mortified by the scene she'd walked into. She quickly handed over the cash to cover IG's bill and tried to hurry her out of the restaurant. But by then, the damage had been done. As they walked toward the exit, people couldn't help but snicker and whisper about the whole ordeal. Her friend, who was just as obnoxious as she was, kept yelling things like, "You're gonna regret this. This girl is a star. You'll be shut down in a week." Then they walked outside and started taking more selfies. She even posted one of her selfies that she took while standing outside in front of our sign, crying and makeup running down her face, and captioned it, "I was assaulted by jealous people because of my fame at a local restaurant. Sweet Jesus, please." The moment they left the dining room, the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted. Customers went back to their meals, and the staff shared a collective sigh of relief. It was as if everyone was simultaneously thinking, did that really just happen? We couldn't believe the audacity of someone who expected random strangers to pay for her meals just because she had a few followers on Instagram. In the days that followed, the story of IG's public humiliation spread like wildfire. People who had witnessed the event shared their photos and stories online, and it wasn't long before local independent news pages picked up on the drama. I even saw a few articles that dubbed her the entitled influencer and recounted the entire story in painstaking detail. Apparently some of our customers reached out to them, volunteering to disclose everything. LOL. As for IG, I was told that her Instagram following took a bit of a dive, though I never went to see it for myself. It just goes to show that no amount of Instagram followers can save you from real-life consequences. Now me and my coworkers have a pretty epic story to share whenever someone asks about the craziest thing that's ever happened at our restaurant. It also serves as a reminder that, at the end of the day, we're all just people trying to enjoy a good meal. Influencer or not, everyone should be expected to pay their fair share. What would you have done if you were dining there when this happened? Would you have picked up her bill and saved her? Let us know in the comments below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.